All right, everyone. The left has gone insane. And by insane, I mean, link in the description, archived, of course. You can look at it for yourself. Eli Misty decided to go off on the Breakfast Club. And the Breakfast Club is Charlemagne the God's particular show. Um, yeah, I have no idea what he's talking about, actually, at times here. You can take that link and you will probably enjoy it. It'll be funny to you. There's a reason for that. When the left goes off completely and says, hey, every element of the Constitution, every law that was made before 1965 should be presumptively unconstitutional. I don't agree with that. I think that that's a bad idea. Some of those laws don't make sense. For instance, the ones passed by FDR. Some of them do make sense. You have to pick and choose with regards to legalese. You have to pick and choose what you're going to retain, what you're going to throw out, and so forth. But this feels like throwing the baby out with the bathwater in the sense that instead of actually picking and choosing, what you're doing is simply saying, well, there's an arbitrary cutoff here, and anything before that is racist, therefore wrong, therefore unconstitutional. What would you say about laws with regards to, ironically enough, tariffs and things of that nature? They have nothing to do with race, but you've got the suggestion that you should get rid of them anyway. I don't believe in this. I think that basically this is a pile of horseshit. And I'm not surprised that it would be on Charlemagne the God's particular podcast. Now, he's done a relatively good job. For example, he was interviewing Joe Biden. This was about a year ago. And Joe Biden's like, well, come on, man. If you haven't decided who you're going to vote for, you ain't black, or something to that effect. Well, Joe, that's not the way that it works. You don't get to choose who people vote for. Some people who are black happen to choose to vote for Donald Trump. And so I don't really have a problem with Charlemagne the God. He actually has a pretty good show, The Breakfast Club. That being said, though, when you have somebody aboard who's saying that any law prior to the last half century effectively should be retroactively deemed unconstitutional. No, I'm not a fan of that. Believe it or not, I'm sure that everyone is so surprised about this. It makes absolutely no sense. Why? It makes no sense whatsoever. But it's definitely something that's being suggested by various people. What they're suggesting is that you need to progressivize, as it were, the United States. That is, that only things that are fairly recent in memory should actually be retained. Everything else is basically bullshit. Now, this makes sense for some things, like the drug war or the war on guns. I mean, I agree with the progressives on that. If you want to undo the gun laws, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a fan of your particular proposal. But that's not what they're proposing. Instead, it's things that have to do with race, that have to do with gender, that have to do with LGBTQ plus MAP 123, and things of that nature. That's what the left is proposing. Now, I don't have any problem with adults engaging in whatever sexual behavior they happen to want to engage in. I don't care. I don't care if a person gets an abortion, unless it's like late term or something like that. I don't care if people use drugs. I can't be paid enough to give a shit. That being said, though, with those issues aside, generally speaking, I side with the right wing of politics. That is, I want to be able to fire a gun. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to pay less taxes, and so forth. And so there's nuance within people's political views. There doesn't appear to be really any nuance here, though. Really, what you've got is leftists going goddamn insane and getting to the point where they're saying that, well, yeah, this law from 1950, it really shouldn't make an impact because it should be just ruled unconstitutional. It means absolutely nothing. The thing is, that's not the way the Constitution works, and it appears that this individual doesn't understand that. The Constitution and the laws that have been passed do have meaning. We don't have to agree with them. And trust me, there are many that I don't agree with, especially from that particular era, the early 1900s. That being said, they are still the law. You can combat them, you can go after them in a court, and you probably should in some cases. That being said, they are duly passed. It doesn't matter if the people that passed the law are long since dead. It means absolutely nothing. They're still there. You still have to abide by them. Why don't you address the actual law, try to get rid of it, and then go from there? That would make a little bit more sense now, wouldn't it? But of course, that would take effort, and of course, effort is not something that the left is necessarily known for. That's about all. Peace out.